Hello YouTubers, it's Gold Standard 0924 coming at you with another video. This video, I'm going to actually be starting a new installment entitled TV's Forgotten Gems. Now what that is I basically either review my thoughts or make a discussion as far as what I think about certain TV show. Um, Now for TV's Forgotten Gems, it's mostly going to consist of any TV show that either hasn't been seen on TV as far as reruns go, a show that hasn't been reran on TV in such a long time, or a TV show that didn't really perform so well in the ratings and was canned within a year or so. That's basically what TV's Forgotten Gems is all going to be. Not sure how long the video installment's going to be. I mean, there's no limit specifically, but this might be somewhat of an ongoing installment. Like I said, there's not really any limit specifically. There, I might do like maybe 10 videos of it. It might be 50, might be even 100, but can't really expect too much. Um, but with TV's Forgotten Gems, I'm kind of been something I was thinking about a couple days ago, and I always figured, just kind of give some of these forgotten shows some exposure. And for some of you viewers that are either interested in these shows, you could check them out anytime. And like I said, I'm just trying to kind of expose some of these TV shows that are very obscure or shows that maybe not a lot of people ever heard of. So that's really the preface behind TV's Forgotten Gems. And now I'm going to kind of start off with this installment with my first Forgotten Gem. And this show actually is a teen dramedy that came out towards the end of the 90s. The show I'm talking about is Big Wolf on Campus. Um, you know, in the United States, it aired on the Fox Family Channel, which we now know as ABC Family. And in Canada, it aired on YTV, since the show was actually produced in Canada. Um, I mean, Big Wolf on Campus, its premise centers around a protagonist by the name of Tommy Dawkins. He's the star quarterback of as a part of the football team, and he and his friends are going on a camping trip, just a little before his first day of school as a senior, and he notices a werewolf spying on him, and so um, Tommy goes in and investigates, and then out of nowhere, the werewolf bites Tommy Dawkins, and as a result, Tommy starts to have this sort of, starts to possess the ability to transform into a werewolf. Now, it's not the werewolf you would think of, when a certain human turns into a werewolf. They just become this entirely different species. They just don't really have any control of their well-beings. Um, it's nothing like that, but with Tommy, he kind of uses his werewolf powers for, just for the power of good, rather than destruction or evil of any kind. Um, this show actually drew inspiration from the 1980s movie Teen Wolf, which starred Michael J. Fox. So Teen Wolf was pretty much a big inspiration for Big Wolf on Campus. Um, and then he meets up with a goth, the stereotypical goth character named Merton Dingle, and he eventually finds out that Tommy possesses the ability to transform into a werewolf, but no one else knows that he was actually the Pleasantville werewolf. And yes, Pleasantville is pretty much the setting of the entire show. So it was kind of a knockoff of the movie, which came out, I think, around this time also, 1998. But Big Wolf came out a year later. So basically, the Merton was the only guy that knew that Tommy was the werewolf, and he also Tommy also has he also has like a romantic crush on Stacy. They both known each other since they were little kids, and that he's doing what he can to kind of just kind of get her to fall in love with him, and and there's always teasing some sort of romance between those two. But Tommy was always off, and he's always having other commitments, and Stacy kind of feels a little bummed out. Especially since she doesn't realize that Tommy was actually doing actually having being a werewolf, and having to save all things that was um, just a lot of supernatural occurrence that occurs in Pleasantville, and Tommy being the hero that he is, has to vanquish all that is bad, all is evil. um, so I mean, Big Wolf on Campus, it's kind of just a slapstick humor type of show. Doesn't really take itself too seriously. It does kind of parody all things pop culture wise, and especially supernatural elements incorporated into the show. Um, let's see, and and eventually, in the second season, Tommy's supposed girlfriend Stacy actually leaves the series, and she goes to college, and she gets replaced by a character named Lori, who was transferred from a Catholic school, and eventually Lori finds out that Tommy was the Pleasantville werewolf, and Merton was also the other guy that was involved in this whole, the only other guy before that knew that of Tommy's secret identity, or um, his secret ability for that matter. And so eventually, rather than having her get brainwashed, or at least rather than having her to like erase her memory, Lori eventually joins the gang, and basically, she and Merton are basically kind of like the supporting characters to Tommy, and they both uh, pretty much become, she becomes the main character until the show ends. So she pretty much stuck throughout the rest of the series from season 2 on. Um, and let's see. And so I mean, this show, it was really at a time when a lot of these supernatural type programs were really hitting it big. If you think about it, you look back at Tales from the Crypt, Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark? I mean, were so many shows that really dealt with a lot of these dark mythology type of programs. And you also have like sitcoms like Sabrina Teenage Witch also out, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Another a teen drama that was also that was like the big thing at the time. So I mean, with Big Wolf on Campus, it really was a type of show that was really premiered around about the just the right time, and so I mean, it was a really just a really entertaining show. Um, and now I would like to note that while this show was good for its time, it's really extremely dated by today's standards. Um, I mean, the fashion was kind of a little. I mean, this show was really around the time of the millennial period, so you had a couple like millennial clothes that you probably wouldn't see a lot of people wear today. Um, I mean, I guess it's not too dated, like 80s style dated, whereas like everyone's wearing all these flashy, but it's not like that to that extent, but it's somewhat dated. They do make some pop culture references to like some TV shows that they were watching, like how Tommy's brother was trying to watch like Beverly Hills 90210, the original 90210, by the way. Um, and I think there was also maybe a few moments where like Tommy wanted to watch an episode of Ally McBeal or something. Um, but I'm not sure if anyone remembers that show. But yeah, it used to come on Fox. But yeah, just a lot of just a couple like pop culture stuff that not maybe if you lent like a today's kids, like if you lent them some, if you give them the opportunity to watch a TV show that you grew up with as a kid, they probably might not hold up well to the younger generation or the younger crowd of today. Um, but I mean, despite that, I mean, Big Wolf was really a really generally entertaining show for its time. I mean, the chemistry really worked well with Merton and Tommy, and just being like the power duo they were for most of the show's run. And despite the fact they did end up adding a new character, um, but pretty much, especially like the first season, it was really Tommy and Merton. Uh, they pretty much were the only two characters that appeared in every single episode. And then you also have like a couple supporting characters. You had like you had like a officer, like a school officer that was kind of serving as school security. Um, but he only appeared after one. He only appeared for like one season, and then he just disappeared. Um, I can't remember. And you also have like Merton's sister. I don't remember her name, but she actually stuck around for pretty much most of the series. But even she didn't appear a whole lot, or for that matter. Um, let's see. But I mean, it's not knocking off the show completely. I mean, it's not like the typical, even though the show is sort of aimed towards children, there's a lot of references that I don't think they would understand. I mean, especially myself, or at least I didn't realize at the time. But like there's some like a one episode where Tommy was wrestling with some other wrestler, and if he failed to beat that wrestler, then he would be sent to hell. And they start making these references to 666, and they also mention you know like a couple movies, because like Merton was always like this obsessive movie fanatic, and he always explains about what happens to the movie, or at least explains what happens, and then like Tommy doesn't understand how it relates to the situation they're in, and he's gonna ask him, "Oh, what happened in the movie? What happened in the movie?" And then Merton, goes and elaborates a little more on what happened in the movie and how it correlates to the situation that occurs within each episode. Um, so it does have a lot of ongoing, just a couple of ongoing gags, especially that moment, with Merton's obsession with movies, and Tommy always trying to kind of back up Merton and ask him like what happened here, what happened there, and stuff like that. Um, I mean, this show ran for about 65 episodes. It might not seem too like it's not like the longest running series, but it's not like a short-lived series in a way. Um, it was pretty mildly successful for its time, but fortunately, the show hasn't been reran in years. I mean, ever since the show ended, because I think like ABC Family like took it off around the time they started bringing some of their Fox Kids shows on there, because that was like around the time they bought pretty much all of the Saban, a lot of the shows that Saban owned, especially like Power Rangers and Digimon, and a lot of the Fox Kids shows were relocating to ABC Family when Fox Kids was getting replaced by Foxbox or 4Kids TV. But there was just so many changes that were going on. Like by the time Big Wolf on Campus um, was about to end, what I could think of. And there were some, notable guest stars. Like Corey Haim appeared in one episode, and I think he ended up appearing on. He also had like another episode he appeared on, which was around the time of the series finale. Um, so there weren't really, so there was probably a handful of guest stars, but not too many. Um, and yeah, that's all I could think of. Like Corey Haim, rest in peace to him. Um, and like as far as some of the actors, some of the main actors go, the breakout star of this show was Rachel Lever, who a lot of people know her from like the Twilight films, and a couple of other guest spots, and many popular primetime television shows. I mean, I personally don't follow her career. I mean, I'm not very fond of Twilight. It's not my cup of tea. But I'm kind of glad, she's had a pretty successful career. Um, so I mean, she was one of the few one of the few successful uh, actresses that came out of this show. Um, and she only appeared for about one season. She played the lead character's girlfriend, Stacy. Um, so I mean, she actually went somewhere. And you had the actor that played Merton. The actor portraying him is Danny Smith. He actually formed a band called City Drive, and they both performed in the Vans Warped Tour back around 2006. They're not together anymore, but had he's had his commitments to music. And speaking of music, he actually contributed to the TV show's theme song, "Just a Phase." There's not really a long version of it. I mean, the longest is basically the 30-second intro for Big Wolf on Campus's theme song, or at least the opening credits. But um, but it was a nice trivia there. Um, and the actor that played Tommy Dawkins, Brandon Quinn. Yeah, I can't really remember too much what he did after this show. I mean, he did like have a recurring role in the OC. Um, so I mean, it so I mean I haven't really seen too much of his work either. Um, but I mean, some actors when it comes to like these sort of shows, they don't tend to really progress very far after after their successful shows end. Um, but it's kind of very interesting to see some of the actors and their whereabouts even after a certain TV program ends. But it's um, not a lot. It's kind of hard to get into the Hollywood business and the acting industry. I mean, it's not really that easy in a way. I mean, I've never been in the acting industry, but it does seem a pretty flexible schedule. Pretty hectic. But some actors they get big. Some of them quit and have other commitments, and I respect them for what they do and their decisions. Um, so that's really Big Wolf on Campus in a nutshell. Um, so just a show that I figured to kind of kick things off for my TV's Forgotten Gems. So yeah, this is basically TV's Forgotten Gems #1. Stay tuned for #2. Haven't really decided which one I want to do next, but stick around for that sometime. But till next time, this is the Gold Standard 0924 signing out.